We're going to be talking about bad actors today, and in several ways. We're going to start off with Rachel, who's joining us from Raleigh, who knows firsthand about Sacha Baron Cohen and bad acting. And by the way, I remember him when he was playing that role as
Borat. He's also done Ali G, which is a British rapper, and he once pranked Donald Trump as well.
On the Ali G show, he had several characters, and Borat was one of them, and so was Bruno.
Okay, and I mean, bad actor, but okay, he obviously sells himself. Let's talk. We've got Trevor and Joey and Ross here in the studio. Rachel joining us from Raleigh. Rachel knows firsthand about Sacha. Okay, Rachel, the floor is yours. So is the microphone. Good afternoon to you.
Okay, good afternoon. So, yes, it was me. I'm guilty. I am the one who was the gatekeeper. I was the press secretary for Ron Paul when he did that appearance on that Bruno movie, which some of you may have
seen that, Rachel.
Yes.
Oh, no.
That was me. I was the gatekeeper, and I booked it. Now, what people need to know, the first thing, before you start spewing hate at me, it's not like Sacha Baron calls up himself and says, hey, I'd like to interview your boss. My name is Sacha Baron Cohen, and maybe you're familiar with my stupid pranks. No, that's not what happens. What happens is he makes up, and for Bruno at least, he had a $42 million film budget with which to do this, but he would create fake companies, fake documentaries, fake scenarios with websites, and mailboxes and everything, so that, savvy people like me who vet interviews can do all of the checking and have all the conversations, and they have, all of the right answers. These are Hollywood types. They know exactly how to get these interviews. And if you look at the laundry list of who he's pranked, you can pretty much tell that if they have any room in their schedule to do any media interviews whatsoever, and he wants to interview them, he gets them. He gets who he wants. So
yeah, this is a famous clip that Rachel's talking about, a famous prank, and it happened in a hotel room. So Bruno,
and that's not unusual. We had just done an interview for MTV in a hotel room that was, very similar actually, and it was totally legit. So, I mean, they know the modus operandi. They know how to get through. In fact, they set up a fake interview, a phone interview with just me. They posed as my college. They found out that I graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, which, is easy to find out. And they posed as my alumni magazine to try to get inside my head.
So they do a lot of preparatory work.
Yes. And the people that I was talking to, the documentary that they invented was called Icons of the New Millennia, and it was about talking to young people and, a European audience, and they sort of set us up for sort of a German interviewer. They said they were a film crew with German One Television, which German One Television is an actual media outlet, but they were, supposedly contracting as a film crew for German One Television, and that's a legitimate sort of arrangement as well. And they actually said, we just wrapped filming with Johnny Depp. Would you like us to get Johnny Depp on the phone to vouch for us? And I've had a crush on Johnny Depp since I was 10. And I thought, well, that would be just selfish of me. That would be abusing my position a little bit to take this opportunity to talk to Johnny Depp. So I sort of believed them, and I said, oh, that's not necessary. But do you know what would have happened had I said yes, put Johnny Depp on the phone? They would have probably put Johnny Depp on the phone. Do you know why? Because just before that, Sacha Baron Cohen had just wrapped filming Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp, and they were buddies. So, I mean, they've got all of their ducks in the row to get whoever they want. So anyway.
Yeah, this actor also famously spilled an urn of ashes onto Ryan Seacrest on the red carpet in L.A. So Cohen is a master mischief maker.
Okay,
and thoroughly plans these things.
Let's talk about this in relationship to the experience in Georgia here in just a moment. First question, though, back to you on this one, Rachel. What was the results of your efforts on behalf of your boss, Ron Paul?
Okay, so we get to the hotel, we do the interview, you can see the movie clip, you know that it went badly, and my boss got very upset, and in his defense, he acted completely appropriately. people will yell at him for using the word queer, but that's the worst they can come up with. And there is actually a television show that is titled Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. So I maintain that that is not an epithet.
Okay.
That is not a slur.
Okay.
But anyway, so he leaves. He has no idea what's going on. They put me in a green room, so I didn't even see who was interviewing him, but I stayed behind until I could figure out what the heck just happened. And it's a long story, but long story short, I got myself through hotel security. My boss actually called hotel security to come and look after me because he had just been sexually harassed in this hotel room, and, you know, his cute press secretary is still there. So he sends hotel security. They get me into the hotel room where the interview took place, and I was causing a ruckus, and Sacha Baron Cohen himself actually peeked around the room where they had him hiding long enough, like for a split second, enough for me to recognize him. And I recognized him, and I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. I just figured out what happened. And I had to explain pop culture to my boss, a very sad aspect of pop culture, which is, you know, basically it was a practical joke. It was a prank, and, you know, we tried to do as much damage control as we could at that point. But, you know, really, Ron Paul didn't do anything wrong. You know, he behaved perfectly, you know, true to himself. But some of these other people are also being true to themselves, and and you kind of wonder a little bit, you know. Sacha Baron Cohen has pranked some people that I kind of dislike, and it's kind of interesting to see their true colors as well.
Here's the interesting aspect, and there was a Georgia politician who
Yes.
Representative Jason Spencer, who really did outrageous things, none of it making sense, running around with his pants down, threatening a supposed assailant, terrorist assailant. Mm-hmm. The question I have is, what's the value of this? Let's take for a moment that it's humorous to a degree, but where's the value in this environment where, quite frankly, we're looking for every opportunity to bring someone or bring an opponent down? I don't get the humor of it. Maybe I'm just too old-fashioned.
It's shock humor. It's shock humor, and the value of it is, you know, very little to society, but quite a bit to Sacha Baron Cohen if we keep watching.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it appeals a lot to, like, 13-year-old boys that are, you know, really just rambunctious. But other than that, I don't really see a lot of intellectual value or social value in Sacha Baron Cohen's works.
And here, by the way, this particular representative has, in fact, resigned, embarrassed by what he did. His resignation was called for by the head of the chamber, the House of Representatives in Georgia, and he willingly, I say willingly, he said, okay, I do need to step down, and he did. This is the sort of thing where, in this environment particularly, and we're going to get to this a little later on in relationship to the bad actors as a result of the internet and video and what have you. You know, we chatted about this last week, the whole aspect of discourse, civil discourse. And it seems to me it's almost like throwing additional fuel on the fire.
What is throwing fuel?
Things like these pranks and
the pranksters.
The prankster. I don't know that we're at this environment we're gaining anything. And
but it's not about us. It's about Sacha Baron Cohen and eyeballs he can get and what he gains. You know, that he doesn't have like a higher moral conscience about these things.
Joey.
I think the moral justification of it would be revealing who people actually are but would not claim to be, or having them act the way that they would if nobody, or if they, when they had their guard down, or what they would really say if they didn't think that what they would say had consequences. That was a lot of the appeal of Borat. Is a lot of the people he was interviewing said things that they honestly believed that they wouldn't say in a lot of context, and that would shock a lot of people.
We're going back
and then editing it in such a way that made them look as bad as possible.
Well, then that would kind of undercut the potential moral truth for it in favor of entertainment. So I think that's a push and pull there, but there is a moral justification for what he's doing, that it reveals people as being hypocrites.
Like, to give an example there,
mind,
like Borat, the character Borat,
in general, I think.
The character Borat is a very well-known anti-Semite, And
Right.
so he would sometimes, even though he was being satirical and like a caricature, he would get everyday people to admit their implicit bias against Jewish people by tricking them into agreeing with anti-Semitic statements and things like that. So a little bit of rhetorical obfuscation and clever editing, and he can make people in like the rural South look like an agglomeration of racists and anti-Semites.
And Sacha Baron Cohen himself is very Jewish. Very Jewish.
Okay, and here's another note, and I don't know much about this, but apparently there's a town in Arizona that gives the impression that it is extremely racist, and the town has expressed its concern and disappointment, and in fact apologized for what is being shown in the video. This gets back to a broader topic, and that is how people act in public.
I think there's a very interesting little kernel of positivity here in that look at the psychological weapons that he uses to make people look bad. He tries to make them look racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, to make them look worse to the broader American audience. And you have to conclude from that actually, if that looks bad to the broader American audience, then the broader American audience does not take kindly to racist, homophobes, and anti-Semitic. So, I mean, if you flip it a little bit, you understand kind of, you know.
Okay, but Rachel, I appreciate that. Boy, that is a bit of a stretch. Go ahead.
I want to take the listeners briefly back to the current prank that Cohen did in the Georgia state legislature, right? Mm-hmm. So what he did was he pretended to represent an Israeli gun training organization and said that the United States should ratchet up its gun training efforts, and we should arm and preschoolers and things like that with weapons in order to be better defended against outside threats. And he got a few public elected officials to agree with this outlandish notion.
It just shows that this heightened sensitivity, not only on the part of myself, but these people that will be willing to think, quite frankly, what I would describe as stupid things.